Well, hello and welcome to this final session of the 16th International Forum on Ecological Civilization and the 5th International Youth Forum on Ecological Civilization. Together, something that we've come to be calling the Claremont Eco Forum, because it has a much nicer ring and because it used to be held in Claremont, California. But I'm not sure any of us on this call right now are actually in Claremont, California. If you are, let us know. Put your location in the chat. But we do have friends from all around the world, which does make this a truly international forum, which is a lot of fun. The last several days, we've been talking about deep transformation for an ecological civilization. When we talk about an ecological civilization, it's a way for our community and the movement that we're a part of to talk about a radically different kind of way that humans live together. So that's the civilizational part, right? And the character of that new civilization is ecological. For us, that doesn't simply just mean that we are in harmony with nature and we try to reduce our waste and keep a low carbon footprint. It's actually much more than that. And it involves equitable ways of living and sharing together. It requires a radical reorientation, a rethinking of what the world is like and what's our place in it. And that's why this year we decided that the topic should really be about a deep transformation toward that more sustainable and equitable future. Because in order to build that kind of world, there needs to be change at a much deeper level than is often discussed in society. So rather than simply addressing the symptoms of complex social and environmental challenges, our group is really calling for a radical transformation, a radical reorientation of human life with major impacts for all life on this planet. So it's exciting, and it's been exciting the last several days to listen to experts and scholars and activists and community organizers to share with us about their thoughts for what this transformation looks like, both inner transformation, transforming ourselves, but also external transformation of society and social systems and structures. And I'm just really excited that our final panel and see what they're going to have to say, because I know that they all have a lot to contribute to that same energy that's been happening the last several days. So before I introduce our panel here and our moderator for the day, a few housekeeping items. So one is this session is being translated into Chinese and to English simultaneously using the Zoom interpretation feature. So if you're not familiar, please look in the chat for instructions, which will be posted right now. Also, at the bottom of your screen, click the interpretation button, select your language that you want to listen to. And then our wonderful translators have been doing an amazing job. Yujia and Wenwen will continue to help to allow us to communicate across these linguistic barriers. So we'll do that. And yeah, so the next thing that I want to do, we have a wonderful little video to share that helps to orient the conversation by giving a little bit of history of the Claremont Eco Forum and some framing for how we got where we are today. So I'll play that real quick. It's just a few minutes long, so please bear with me, and then we'll jump right in.
Welcome to the 16th Claremont International Forum on Ecological Civilization and the 5th Youth Forum on Ecological Civilization. The Claremont Eco Forum is a prestigious annual event that began in 2006. It stands as the earliest and largest forum dedicated to ecological civilization in the Western world. Our mission is to gather innovative academics, nonprofit leaders, prominent activists, and governmental officials from both China and other nations. Together, we aim to explore new worldviews, modes of thinking, developmental models, approaches to organic farming, and educational paradigms in the pursuit of transitioning towards an ecological civilization. Over the years, thousands of individuals from around the globe have participated in these forums, fostering a significant impact. Media's coverage, such as People's Daily, Xinhua News, International Daily, and Sino U.S. Times, has helped to disseminate the forum's objectives. Notably, the 15th Claremont Eco Forum in 2022 reached approximately 12 million views, particularly in China, through various traditional and social media channels. The Claremont Eco Forum was initially organized by the Institute for Postmodern Development of China, IPDC, and the Center for Process Studies, CPS. In recent years, it has gradually received co-sponsorship from esteemed organizations such as the Cobb Institute, CI, the Institute for Ecological Civilization, EcoCiv, the China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation, the Budapest Center for Long-Term Sustainability, Hungary, the Overseas Chinese Environmental Engineers and Scientists Association, and the Chinese Ecological Civilization, Research and Promotion Association, among others. We extend a warm welcome to all participants and hope you thoroughly enjoy the forum. May the 16th Claremont Ecological Forum be a resounding success.
And again, here are those instructions for simultaneous interpretation if you've not been able to set that up yet, or if you just arrived. If you're wondering who in the world I am and why I'm talking to you, that's fair, because I never introduced myself, which may have been more helpful actually before I started. So my name's Andrew Schwartz. I'm the one of the organizers of this year's forum. I'm the director of the Center for Process Studies, a professor at Claremont School of Theology, and vice president of EcoCiv, the Institute for Ecological Civilization, which is appropriately themed to this event. So there you go. But I did not organize this event alone, and I wanted to take some time to actually embarrass my co-organizers here and see if they'd like to be spotlighted for a second. So Jay McDaniel had a spotlight, Dongwoo Lee had a spotlight, Meijun Fan, I'll have to replace a spotlight. Oops, I don't know. We had too many people in the spotlight. And Zhehe Wang, who's somewhere around. Yeah. Meijun, would you like to say something welcoming all of our people from China and around the world as one of the founders of this 16-year international forum?
好，谢谢大家，非常欢迎我们的年轻的朋友来到我们的青年生态文明论坛。然后呢，我在这里呢，也就是说抱着一个学习的心态，想从我们的年轻朋友学到更多，了解他们的想法，了解他们对生态文明是如何思考的，了解他们是如何把这些观念放到他们的日常生活当中，因为希望就在他们身上。谢谢。
Thank you, Meijun. So we actually are now going to transition to our panel. Enough introduction and welcome and stalling. People have joined. The conversation is ready to begin. So I'd like to invite Vivian Song to come and say a few words. She's the moderator for our session. She'll introduce our panelist and she'll also introduce herself. So Vivian.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, friends, for supporting this event and coming here today to join this last but not least panels of the Claremont Eco Forum, and then also the 5th International Youth Forum on Ecological Civilizations. My name is Xinlin Song, or Vivian Song, as you're calling me, and I am calling from Sichuan's Danba County. It's a Tibetan village, and you could see the mountains and the Tibetan houses behind me, and that's one of our sacred mountains in this region. Well, in the past, if you see me in the Zoom room, I usually will be from maybe in the city context or with a fake image of the watchtower, but today I am in the real nature, and then I'm happy to bring a little breeze of ecology, nature, and to these conversations. And I am an educator and a writer. And this is where I work, I create experience and learning programs for our students, both locally and internationally. And I hope one day we could see each other over here. Maybe our next youth forum or youth gathering will be some here under the sacred mountains. So I welcome you. And I'd like to start our session today. I have prepared small slides. And if you could see me. Yes. Hello and welcome again. And today's session, we have 4 wonderful speakers from both China, Korea, and America. We have also, we will also be translating this conversations from Korean language to English language to Chinese language. So those 3 interpreters with us today, they're all very much part of this conversation group. And all of you, our dear audience in the chat room or in the live broadcast, and please know that you're very much within the circle for this conversation. So if any spot you have questions, curiosities, and you want to raise some important notes that you want to discuss, please send it in the chat room, and we will find time to respond and to have conversations after that. So today's session is 1 hour and 1.5 hours. Yes, so before this event, we have collected images from our panelists, and would like to kind of change the format for a usual panel a little bit into kind of family sharing, a living room sharing, like as we're gathering around and watching the album. And so I put our panelist images together in kind of a family album style, and I'd like to show the images, and I'd like to invite the owner of these images to come and tell us a little bit about herself. Where are you calling from, and what are you doing at this moment? A little bit checking in, and tell us a little bit about the image. That's the format. Is that okay? Great. Okay, let's start. Yes, and this image, please. Is this Jessie? Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Green. I'm calling from San Francisco, California. I am the Project and Development Associate at the Institute for Ecological Civilization, or EcoCiv. And prior to that, I worked supporting Maasai land rights in East Africa with the June Impact, where I'm now a board member. My background includes expertise in climate resiliency, community-based conservation, indigenous land rights, well-being economics, and responsible tourism. So these first 2 photos, the one on the left is from Anza Borrego in Southern California, and then the photo on the right is with a colleague at CalCan, which is a conference about agriculture held at UC Davis every year. I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. And then the photo on the left here is in Joshua Tree National Park, and the photo on the right is in Yosemite National Park just last weekend. Lots of water there this year.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Jessie. Yeah, okay, let's go for the next one.
All right, thank you, Vivian. Hello, I am Dylan Romine. I am currently in the state of Arkansas. I completed my bachelor's and master's degree in biology at the University of Central Arkansas, where I studied the effects of large-scale agriculture on the surrounding stream ecology. I also appear and I started the first student-led sustainability program on campus. And you'll see in this photo on the left there, that is the coalition at work. We were processing some invasive cedar for our garden beds. After graduation, I began managing a urban farm here in Conway, Arkansas. And that top right photo is the back part of the farm. You can see that it's a small space, looks a lot different than the typical large agricultural operations you probably have in mind. That bottom photo is some of our beautiful Arkansas produce we sell in the summertime. The next slide, please. And this is actually behind me right now. That is the state of Arkansas, the outline of the state of Arkansas. And each number is one of our farmers, crafter, local supplier that supplies our farm stand on the farm. So the farm stand has all Arkansas made or grown goods. And so we're just sort of a network. This is a good visualization of the network we've created with Arkansas made and grown goods and produce. I'm super passionate about food security, fostering community, and I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to hear everyone's perspectives, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dylan. This is these are the networks, and you're saying the networks and suppliers to the farm. And wow, great, thank you. Okay, over to E. Hello.
Okay, thank you so much. Seems there are so many Chinese audience today, and there is simultaneous translation. I will mainly speak in Chinese. 所以前面这两张照片呢，一个呢也是美国的北加州西夸亚国家公园、红山国家公园，然后这个是我当时在差不多10年前吧，当时在那边上学的时候，还是在探索的阶段。然后右边这个呢，也是5年前在疫情之前，是去南极的一个女性科学家考察的一个计划。然后这个船上一共有70-80位来自全世界各地的 女科学家，然后对气候变化这个话题进行探讨，然后其中有7位是来自中国的，所以就可以看到这个全世界的足迹，但是在疫情以后，现在要重新开始。请Xinlin放下2张，然后这个更是10几年前，当时在美国上学的时候，在 Mojave Desert， 爬山的时候，就是周末还有放假最便宜的方式就是去国家公园露营。 然后在美国大概差不多10年前、9年前毕业了本科，在 Claremont 这个地方，也是我们今天这个国际生态文明论坛的举办地，都会在下一个问题里面，我也会详细介绍我是怎么样走上这条路的。然后也是在10年前，然后当时跟着柯老从加州飞到北京，参加了张孝德老师做的一个生态文明的论坛。 然后参加完半周的活动以后，又飞回去上学，那一次也算是一个非常特别的一个经历，就是打飞的过来。但我们现在的这个生态文明论坛已经变成了线上的，更加的低碳，更加的环保。
Okay, thank you. You're looking forward to hear your aha moment in the next questions. Yes, and next but not least, Yukyung.
네, 소개해 주세요.
Are we good
네,
with the
안녕하세요. 저는 진유경입니다. 저는 한신대학교의 일반대학원 조직신학을 전공하고 있고요. 저는 일반적으로 그러니까 자기소개를 전 너무 제 작업 소개로 가져온 것 같아서 좀 그렇긴 한데 어쨌거나 저는 일단 기본적으로 사회 구조적인 불이나 그 해소에 대해서 관심을 가지고 그거를 해소할 수 있는 어떤 장치로 인간의 다정함 이런 거를 생각하고 있고요. 혹은 인간의 특성으로서의 외면, 뭐 배타성 이런 것도 생각을 하고 있습니다. 제가 작업한 사진들인데요. 제가 지금 연구하고 있는 대학원생이기도 하지만 좀 사회적으로 문제가 되는 현장에서 좀 연대하는 활동가이자 예술가이기도 했거든요. 그래서 직접적으로는 생태 문명과 관계가 없지만 후에 이제 교차성을 발견하게 되었는데 일단 이 왼쪽 사진은 한국에서 굉장히 길었던 투쟁이었던 쌍용 자동차라는 고용 불안정에 대한 투쟁에서 이제 서울에서 매주 이렇게 정기 문화제를 열었던 사진이고요. 그러고 두 번째는 이제 젠트리피케이션이 좀 심화되면서 서울에서 쫓겨나는 자영업자들이 많았어요. 그래서 그 분들 중에 한 분과 연대를 해서 이제 거기서도 이제 매주 라이브를 열었던 사진 포스터입니다.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yukyung Kim, and I live in Goyang City near Seoul. I actually prepare for the pictures that are not interested and my introduce. I'm a graduate student at Hanshin University, and I'm interested in social structural injustice and its solutions. So I believe that the interrelationship between humans and ecology is also social structure patterns. So I want to actually introduce these two pictures about my project and my interest. So the first picture is about the movement of the car issues. So it was for a long time, it was like a regular cultural festivals, and I was active. And the second one is about the gentrification pictures. So I actually played I actually established a contact with others and to share our social problems and social structural issues to fight against the in social injustice in Korea. So this is kind of the representative of the concert about this movement that I actually involved in and the joining. 음소거 되셨어요.
죄송합니다. 그 오른쪽 사진부터 설명을 하자면 한국의 되게 유명한 사회 문제 중에 하나가 또 고용 불안정도 있지만 그리고 이제 비정규직 노동자가 너무 위험한 업무 강도를 통해서 이제 하루에 뭐 2~3명씩 죽고 온다라는 통계들이 있거든요. 그래서 몇 년 전에 돌아가신 김용균 비정규직 노동자에 대해서 추모하는 앨범을 만들고 콘서트를 진행한 적이 있습니다. 그 기금은 또 유가족에게 전달을 했고요. 유가족이 만든 재단에도 축하 공연을 한 적이 있습니다.
This is the photo of the album, the commemorating the problem of the employment within the instability and irregular workers. So she actually gathered some funding from this concert and then gave the fundraising to their families.
네, 그리고 왼쪽은 이제 가장 최근 활동인데 지금 국가적인 개발 사업으로 인해서 시장이 밀린 적이 있습니다. 거기서 나온 상인들이 몇 년째 지금 그렇게 일방적인 개발에 대해서 좀 항의를 하는 시위를 하고 있는데 거기에 연대해서 그들의 이야기로 앨범을 만들고 이야기 콘서트를 진행을 하고 그 기금을 또 전달한 적이 있습니다.
It is the most recent activities that I actually projected. So there are some stories about the people who are working in the market, and so I also we actually also have the concert to fundraising, and then we gathered some monies for them to give them support their works.
네, 사실 맨 앞에 말할 때 제 작업이 직접적으로 생태와 연관성이 없다라고 얘기를 했지만 사실 생태 이슈가 발생하는 원인이 이제 어떤 인간 사회의 기본적인 질서나 관성, 그리고 그들이 가진 어떤 사고 이런 면에서 시작이 된다고 생각을 하고 이 사회의 어떤 시스템에 좀 관계가 있다고 생각을 해서요. 그런 면에서 저는 교차성을 발견했고 생태에 대해서도 관심을 가지고 열심히 공부하고 또 나름대로의 실천도 하고 있는 중입니다.
I actually said earlier that my work is not directly related to the ecology, but in fact, I believe that ecological issues are really related to the cause of the social structural injustice in terms of especially the ecological civilization and the social structures and its orders. So yeah, I continue to work with them and then to fight against the social injustice in Korea.
Thank you.
감사합니다.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So we have listened to brief stories from all of our panelists, and if let me check all and the next we're going to have some sort of conversations and back and forth questions. Sorry, we have Okay. Sorry. Sorry. I'm in the village situation. Our villagers are asking me to pass on a very important information. If you allow me for 多少输钱 Okay. 有人找你 Okay. Sorry. Yes, so back to our conversations. So we have a few questions that we have prepared and sent to our panelists prior to the events. I would also like to share that to our audience, and we will be having the conversations into 4 clusters, and I will quickly go through them, and then we'll come back to the spotlight parts to go through each sections of questions. So the first sections of questions is very much about ourselves and how did you start this journey? What was your aha moment, and what was the moment that makes you think that okay, this is the journey I want to take towards ecological civilization? If you have realized that at that time this is what you're trying to walk on or not, and it's we could hear your thoughts, and what are some of the top challenges that young people in your country, in your cultures are facing. It might not be very much about ecological civilization. It might be something about social justice, as Yukyung just shared. We think that's very much connected to the big topic as well. So this is the first set, and the second set of questions will be about leadership. Since this session is very much about transforming the future and use leadership, and I would like us to kind of discuss what does leadership mean to you, and what are the young people bring to the table in terms of leadership in transforming the future, and what are some inspiring examples and case studies that you have known or you've worked on and that you'd like to share. And please feel free to send the names and amplify the names in the chat room as well. And the fourth set of questions is about crossing time and space, the cross-cultural collaborations and intergenerational dialogues and collaborations. And what's your take on that? And the last but not least set of questions, it's more about the practical parts, the barriers, the challenges, the inspirations and the hopes, and some new tools that you've been encountering in terms of amplifying your voice and turning to a ecological civilization. So without further ado, let's go to the fourth set. I will end the share now, and we'll go back to our conversation. So yes, the first set of questions I'd like to hear from you, our panelists, and what was your aha moment in embarking on this journey? And we could do the popcorn style. Anyone feel to share? And please jump in.
All right. As far as an aha moment for me, the first thing I thought of was in undergrad, I was really on the more medical route side of biology, but then I started volunteering in the campus greenhouses, and we were growing food to donate to a local nonprofit that was going to put the plants in a low-income community garden bed and provide demos on how to grow your own food and how to eat more seasonally. And that was just a huge moment for me. I had never grown anything in my life, and which was just huge. It was totally new, out of my comfort zone. But I realized how good I was at it and how good it felt to feel connected to food and like where your food comes from. And also it was important for me to recognize that Arkansas is actually, we are one of the poorest states in the United States. And so food insecurity is a huge deal here. I grew up in a low income household. I was very food insecure growing up, and I just had this huge moment like, wow, I'm finally in this space where I'm secure and I can help children and other low income families who are in the same position as me growing up. And that was such a huge moment for me. It felt so fulfilling. And that was also the time where I started volunteering in our campus nature reserve, learning about wildlife management and collecting seeds. And I was just feeling so connected to the natural world in ways that I had never been before. And having thoughts and observations about food and food security and community that I had never had before. So that was a huge semester for me. And that's when I realized I wanted to take more ecology courses and kind of change route from the medical route to more environmental sciences. And that pushed me to pursue my master's and investigate, Arkansas is a huge ag state. So I wanted to know more about our food system, and why are we such a huge agricultural state, but yet we are so food insecure. And so it spawned all these questions for me. Made me realize how passionate I was about our food systems and the natural world. So.
Thank you, Dylan. From medical to ecology, from curing to healing.
Yes, I love that. That's perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. And Jessie, would you like to share your journey?
Sure. I feel like I don't have a really great answer to this question because it wasn't really a moment for me. I think like growing up, my parents, they had an ecological civilization built into their kind of ethos without really realizing it and without having the words for it. And so at a very young age, I was exposed to all of these kinds of ideas. And, they taught me hiking and camping and traveling all over the world. So I kind of just always had I'm very privileged to have had a lot of experiences and a very diverse set of experiences from a young age, and taught to really appreciate the planet and the people that care for it. So I don't know that there was really like a moment that I realized, oh, this is what I want to do, because it was kind of just like obvious to me from the beginning that that's the direction I was going to take my life. It felt like there was no other choice. Like, we have to do something about these issues that are facing the global community, and I was going to be a part of that. There wasn't really a choice. I think if I did have some kind of realization, it was just that, like, getting to university and realizing that there were other people who were like me, who were thinking about these things. Because I think up until that point, I had only really talked about it with my family. And in that kind of like context, my peers weren't really having those conversations. So getting to university and starting to have those conversations with people my own age, that was really inspiring, and connecting with like-minded people and feeling a part of a bigger conversation and a bigger movement made me feel amazing. And opportunities like this, likewise, are a big part of what makes me feel, aha, this is awesome.
I have chills when you say like being part of the bigger conversations, and then I just saw like new names popping up, still popping up in our chat rooms, and we're having an expanding number of audience, and that the conversation is becoming bigger. Yes, and Yi, would you like to share? Uh,
对我来说，我的 moments， 我的这些生态的感受或者想要做这些事情的，并不是几个瞬间或者一两个瞬间，它像过程哲学一样是非常长的过程。最开始肯定是因为来了 Claremont 上学，然后大一的结束的时候，非常特别的一个机会，参与到了生态文明论坛的志愿者当中，然后当时根本不知道这是什么。只是听到了很多国内做生态农业还有生态哲学老师分享，觉得很有意思这些内容，然后就开始每年，然后当时也觉得这可能是一个哲学层面的思考，但是慢慢的，特别是去年到今年，我能感受到这个生活方式和哲学和人类大的宏观的发展都跟这个有关。然后对我来说，从思维或者说 theory 理论角度是有3个角度让我走上这条路。那第一个呢，是在美国学环境，或者说看中国这个环境保护这块。那这个其实是一个也是从西方过来的 environmentalism， 就这个环保主义。然后第2块呢，就是关于这个现代人类的一个发展，从发达国家到发展中国家，都是一个从19世纪的工业文明、工业发展、科学革命、启蒙运动这样子到现在，这是一个一脉相传的逻辑。它不仅仅是发生在大的这个宏观的发展，也包括每个人，比如说大家谈到的卷娃，或者是996、卷工作，等等一切的生活，每个人的决策都是跟这个逻辑是有关的。然后第3个呢，就是中国非常特有的这个乡村和城市的一个城乡的一个割裂，这个其他国家也存在过，但是中国正在进行，所以还有一些可以做的一些事情，也可以为世界提供一些不一样的方案。谢谢。
谢谢。Yeah, the part when you mentioned that there a lot of social issues are very much connected to the ecological issues, although they're not entitled ecology, but it's a social ecology. It's still very much part of our conversation society. And I think we're gonna come back and talk about that more later. And yes, and Yukyung, would you like to share?
네, 저는 앞서 잠깐 말하긴 했는데 교차성을 좀 깨달은 순간이 생태에 대해서도 굉장한 관심을 가지게 된 순간이라고 생각합니다. 고용 불안정이나 어떤 노동의 업무 환경, 그리고 이제 국가 폭력에 대한 이야기들이 좀 저한테 있는데 그런 거를 야기하는 기본적인 사회 구조에 대해서 좀 생각을 많이 하게 되었고 그게 이제 지금의 사회 구조가 뭔가 사람이 가진 욕망을 성취하기 위한 것과 그 성취하기 위해서 필요한 자본을 가장 높은 가치로 두는 사회라면 이제 그것을 위해서 또 타 존재를 침탈하는 행위나 이런 것들이 많아서 이제 그런 구조와 질서의 태도 이런 것들을 들여다볼 수 있어야 한다라고 생각을 했고요. 서로 해치지 않는 것, 그런 관계의 시작 자체가 또 생태 문명과 굉장히 연결이 되어 있다라고 생각을 하면서 이제 사회 문제들과 엄청난 연결이 있다라고 생각을 그 교차성을 깨달으면서 생태 문명에 대해서 생각을 하게 됐습니다.
Yeah, the moment that I realized the intersectionality with the ecological issues, when I saw a worker's life being shaken by the a company, and then I feel really like this insecurity of the employment is a social problem. It's not a personal problem. So it is the denial of the dangerous working conditions imposed on the irregular workers. So at that moment, I had the aha moment when I look at the individuals who are being victimized by national development as well. So I think all of these kinds of phenomena are actually problems of the social structures, and the largest categories of the social structure is the act of the violence to others, or the human self-centered values and their desires. So this is to turn the others who doesn't care if the others will be die, something like this. So these kinds of attitude of the structures and order is the problem in society. So I think this is the same as well the ecological civilizations philosophies.
Yes. Is that? Yes. Well, yeah, I think our conversations so far has crossed a large span, a large spectrum of this topic from, we have friends in the chat room saying from community to security, from food security to community to also to social structures. So yeah, so I've also shared the questions in the chat room. So please feel free to also jump in and share your stories in the chat room, our audience. And let's go for our second questions. What are some of the top challenges the young people in your society, your part of the world are facing today? And they might not be directly connected to the ecological civilization as we know it, but I would like to also hear about that as well. Where do we start? So shall we start again with you, Dylan?
Okay. So speaking from a general point of view, or maybe even my own personal perspective, something that I think a lot of young people are feeling right now when we are constantly bombarded with media about the state of the world is just a daunting feeling, or like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're feeling hopeless because you're just, you're one person living in a small town in Arkansas. So, and so what do you do? And so something that I've learned just working here at the urban farm and the local food network is that if we kind of scale things down a little bit and kind of look into our community as opposed to just from a global perspective, things like our actions and our dollars and our ideas become a bit more tangible to us when we think more locally, scaling things down. So, and it feels more doable and more impactful in my experience, I would say. And that's, I think a lot of young people could agree that there's a feeling of like, oh my gosh, what do we do? It's so much, but there's something good about making connections with the people in your community and seeing how your actions and how you spend your dollars in your community and your ideas, expressing your ideas, change is more tangible and more impactful, it seems. And I feel like we start at like a smaller scale and a community scale, we will see this ripple effect, and change will happen upscale, but I just hope, you know, that we're not all, you know, discouraged, and to maybe look more locally.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful reminder. That's from the daunting global big topic feelings into more of a practical local actions that feels more enabled, isn't it? Yeah, that's
Right, absolutely.
yeah. I saw a lot of nodding heads just now when you say it's the future is it feels like everything is on our shoulder. Yeah. Do you our panelists and do y'all feel the same? Or Jessie, yeah, Yukyung, and I yeah. Anyone would like to say a bit more on that?
Yeah, I'll agree with Dylan. I think like just this pressure I think that we all feel to not only to like kind of save the world, but also to like live up to the expectations of previous generations. I think there's kind of like an unspoken expectation that we, you know, can do all of the same things on the same timeline that our parents did, you know, buying a house, buying a car, meeting certain financial commitments and that kind of thing. Like there's just a huge amount of pressure to like do all these things that structurally, systemically, there's just no possible way that we can do them in the same way that our parents and our grandparents did. So I think if I were to ask anything of those generations, it would be just like, listen to us when we say we would love to do those things, but we really just can't. And to feel heard in that kind of cry for help, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. I feel maybe we should put the third set of questions into the following sets, because we have this cross generational conversations is very much the feature for our Eco Forum event, and we have our elders presented here today, and we would like to hear from them how they respond to those questions. I think it's very much an important topic to discuss, this expectations and expectations from our previous generations, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jessie, for bringing that up. E, are you okay? I saw your sneezing. Are you fine?
我把2、3、4问题一起回答。我觉得刚刚大家回答的开了我脑洞，就有点想把之前我没准备的谈一下。就我觉得青年人现在，我们每个人都生活在工业文明里面，大部分的事情的逻辑，不管是生活还是养家，还是工作，都是这个逻辑。所以要创造这个生态文明，其实是得在这2个里面平衡，然后怎么样能在现已有的逻辑里面进行一些实验性的或者 cutting edge 引领式的一些探索，所以其实挺困难的，特别对于青年人来说，因为青年人没有什么资源。但是呢，会有一个就是刚刚说的代际之间的传承，可以薪火相传。比如说2年前我们做的这个生物多样性会的一个线上论坛，是由德国的基金会资助，然后克劳也参加。那场会议从5岁到90岁的参与者都有，是线上的。这个我觉得就是非常好的一个去探讨的一个过程。然后另外就是大家谈到这个改变，就是我刚听到韩国跟美国的状态，我觉得中国是一样的。以前觉得中国的年轻人现在是不是遇到独特的问题，但听起来这个是一个全球化的一个状态。比如说现在因为我1个月之前我去韩国玩了一趟，我在首尔的大街小巷咖啡厅里面喝到的基本上是在中国还有在美国一样的咖啡厅，价格也是一样的，味道也是一样的，没有任何区别，装修也是一样的。然后我就在想说，这个是我要的周末吗？大部分的白领周末都是这样子过的，去拍照，那这个是我要的吗？那还有比如说关于这个教育，它也是一个，还有就是关于刚刚说的996，还有像刚刚那个韩国伙伴说的这个音乐节。那疫情放开之后，中国现在每2个星期在大城市里面都有1、2场音乐节或者是演唱会，就是规模非常的大，然后也有这种零废弃、零碳的音乐节。就我会发现所有的这种好的跟坏的东西都是同时在发生的， 这个可能是现在全球化的一个特点，也是我们能做出改变的一个很好的契机。或许，谢谢。
Yeah. We're waiting for the translation. I might not be able to hear the translation ends. If I am overlapping speaking with the interpreter, please remind me. Yeah, the best time and the worst time altogether. And then the point I think E mentioned, it's quite interesting about the logic or the narrative about now and towards the future. And then I think it's up to our youth leaders or our young people or young at heart to come together and create a new logic, new stories and narratives that we want to live in. And hopefully it's you know, hopefully for our next generation, we want them to live in this environment where Jessie shared while she was growing up. And this is no brainer. This is my environment. And this is, there's no words to describe it as ecological civilization because we're already in there. That's hopefully that's the future we would like to see. And yes, Yukyung, would you like to share your thoughts?
네, 저는 일단 지금 어떤 변혁적 변화를 위해서 영 리더들이 할 때에 주로 맞이하는 장애물이 이제 이미 굳어져 버린 사회의 문화나 관습 이런 부분을 먼저 생각하게 되는데요. 예를 들어 가정에서도 환경을 파괴하는 물질들을 사용할 때 그걸 대체할 것은 아직 많지 않고 이게 너무 편하고 그래서 이것들이 다시 대체할 물건이나 문화가 자리 잡기까지 그리고 자리 잡고 나면 이걸 다시 회수하는 비용이 사실 먼저 생각이 들 것 같더라고요. 그래서 그런 부분들에 대해서 우리가 새로운 에너지에 대해서도 개발할 수 있어야 된다라고 생각을 하고 그리고 이제 세대 간의 어떤 연결을 위해서 저는 사실 하나의 그 젊은 세대만이 가능하다고 보지는 않습니다. 사실 혁신도 여러 곳에서 다극적인 장소에서 함께 일어나서 연결되지 않으면 좀 어렵다고 보는 입장이긴 합니다. 그래서 서로 접촉할 수 있는 창구가 굉장히 많아야 한다고 생각을 하고요. 그 창구가 서로에게 불쾌하지 않아야 하겠죠. 그래서 그 공개 포럼이나 워크숍도 가능할 것이고 지금처럼 그래서 청소년들이 뭔가 주도적으로 주제를 설정하고 대화를 이끌어 나갈 공간을 주는 거 너무 좋고 거기서 이제 기성세대와의 대화를 통해서 기성세대가 할 수 있는 자신이 사회적 영향력에서 할 수 있는 것들이 뭘까 이런 부분들도 사실 적극적으로 제공하고 같이 얘기를 해야 사실 더 연결된 혁신을 이루어갈 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
Yeah, first of all, I think the problems that young people faced for change are already interested in the conversation. So I think the problem first from the family, it's hard to change their cultural family traditions in terms of the environmental problems. So we needed to have lots of point of the contact with each other's over the generations. So we needed to make sure that these kinds of channels are not offensive to each other over the generations. So this could be through the public forums or workshop or other conference like these kinds of forums to discuss our thought from the young youth to the elders. So providing, we can provide the space for the young people to take this kind of responsibility to set up topics and lead the conversation, and also to engage in active dialogue with the older generations, because it is, I don't think it's something that only one generation can change the world. So we should cooperate with each others. So yeah, so that we can change our environmental issues and to talk about the transformative our environmental issues.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kyung. And I'm glad again you mentioned the topic in intergenerational conversations. Before we go into the next sections, I'd like to hear if any elders in presenting here today, if any one of you would like to quickly respond to the questions that have been just raised about, like young people feeling daunting and too much expectations from the previous generations, and yeah, that's anyone would like to respond to it? Perhaps Cobb, Professor Cobb, I know you're here today, and we have also, alongside with this conversations, we also have this youth dialogue conversations once a month. We have young people from and around China and the US talking about this ecological civilization issues, but with the conversation is also an intergenerational conversation where some of the elders here today will join us once a month for that conversations. So that's I would like to also hear from you, Professor Cobb. Would you like to share some thoughts?
Put your mic on, please. Now you can hear me? All right. Well, I thought that was great wisdom in what I was hearing. And I would like to strongly say that to try to do everything as an individual is simply self-destructive. So that it's extremely important to become part of a community. If you're part of a community, that immediately relieves you from the sense that you have to do everything. And you have other people to talk with and share. And if you are in a community that is actually engaged in something that does have meaning in this extremely difficult time, it does have promise for making a difference, I think it just helps your morale a great deal. We in Claremont are very happy that we can be part of the work of the city of Pomona, which has some real ambitions, not of course to solve all the world's problems, but to move itself into becoming something of an ecological city. I won't go into the details, but that's just one part of my life and one part of the life of anyone else. But being able to be part of a community that is engaged in something that is promising in itself. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it helps you keep going. I think keeping on is so important. And I would like to mention an idea that Bonnie Tarwater has sold me on. She points out that there are support groups on many topics. If you have a particular kind of disease, you can get together with other people who have the same disease and support each other. And all of us, but let me just talk about you. You've mentioned the fact that the older generation wants you to succeed according to its standards, where success is actually the problem for the future of the planet. I mean, this is a very difficult situation. I can't imagine. But you need each other. And I hope that maybe you can get some idea of what it would mean to have support groups of people who are experiencing this kind of dual pressure, one of which is very personal and very immediate from parents and friends, and the other which arises out of a situation which is extremely important for your own future, but also for everything else. And if you can just share with each other how you're feeling about things and what you can do to relieve them, and maybe find some projects that you can work on together, have a sense you are making a difference. I just think the pressures that you're describing are going to get worse and worse. And if you try to solve them on an individual basis, you'll collapse. It's just too much. So you're already saying what I'm saying. I appreciate it. I heard it. I just want to say, if I have any wisdom, it's that you really need to think about how you can work out your life in a way that will be meaningful to you, that will be constructive for the world, but will also be endurable. If you're with people you love and who love you, you can die happily. I'm not trying to hurry you to death, but I'm just saying the worst threat is often thought to be death. But it's not. The worst problem is utter despair, meaningless, and things like that. Much better to go ahead and die. But I want you to live. And I feel I have to say what my generation has done and what the intermediate generation between me and you is cruel. We have cheated you. We're responsible for your suffering. So don't let anybody make you feel that you're the ones who are responsible for the problem. But the fact that we're responsible for the problem doesn't mean we're going to do a whole lot to help you. I'm sorry. Some of us are going to try. And if we can get in communities with each other, I think we can help each other some. That's plenty.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kopp. That being in the community and like what we are doing now, and along with this conversation, it's very much also in the spirit of the 7th generations. We are in communication, we are in community, we are in collaboration with both 3 generations ahead of us and 3 generations coming next to us, and us in this current generations, and we're all connected, and there's no decisions or practice should be done without thinking of that 7 generations benefits. And thank you for the sharing. And we will come back to this conversation perhaps later again. And I'd like to bring up the second set of questions about the leadership, about some hopeful thoughts. And I just shared that in the chat room, and it's also to our panelists. And how can youth leadership play a transformative role in building an ecological civilization? And what unique perspective and approaches do young people bring to the table? And something, as a different logic, a different narrative, or a completely new creativity in addressing these issues. What do you think are our young people bringing to the tables? After you. Oops, I have some birds chirping and wants to share as well, only if we can hear their thoughts. Yeah. Who would like to start?
I can speak. So what I'm hearing is that we all kind of agree that, one generation can't do it alone. So, the youth, the current systems we're seeing are just not working. So, the youth needs to step up and lead with some fresh ideas and perspectives. And I think that's the benefit of youth leadership, is just new perspective on the way the world can work around us. And I know that's vague, but I think that's it. And I think I got to see a lot of that firsthand with the sustainability coalition we formed that was just purely student led on campus. And there's just so much enthusiasm and passion that young people bring, and just new ideas. And just passion, enthusiasm. So that's what I see from student-led and youth-led initiatives.
Oh, sorry. Can you tell a bit more on the youth-led and activities that you're working on, and what are doing?
Yeah, so so it's the only student-led sustainability program on campus. We basically started a community garden for the campus. We also did like community and campus city cleanups. We've done like tree planting events, native planting events, seed collecting stuff, food recovery, where we go and pick up grocery store food waste and transport it to food pantries, local nonprofits that will help disperse that food to food insecure families. So all sorts of initiatives. We would have even cooking demos and stuff. So like just teaching students how to use the food we were growing in the garden, and how to eat seasonally, and how to get that sense of self-sufficiency. And this was all kind of mid-pandemic, when we were all kind of feeling like we were out of control of our lives and our surrounding environment, and being able to show students how to grow their own food kind of offered them a sense of security, I think. So we were on all sorts of projects, and we had to go over, we encountered a lot of barriers, especially with funding, with, you know, if it's just student-led, not a lot of the higher ups were as interested and didn't think it would be, that it wouldn't last, but it's going strong for 3 years now, and it keeps growing. More students are involved, and it's we try to take a more interdisciplinary approach. So trying to get science students involved, art students involved, doing some art in the garden, and nutrition students to do cooking demos. And we had like physics majors interested. It was, and I think that's the approach. That's how we work together, is like integrating all these disciplines, and which everyone has a perspective and a fresh idea. And so it was very neat to witness the passion that all these students had, and where it just skyrocketed in like a year, and with no funding. So very inspiring, I hope. But it's called the Green Bear Coalition at the University of Central Arkansas. If you guys are interested in looking that up.
Yeah, please feel free to share more links in the chat room. And I can imagine, like, for students who have ever been with you on this program, and they're already living in this narrative, in this environment, and it can only be, you know, it's possible that after college they would like to continue this way of life, this way of connecting, and then they will be looking at a similar or like-minded activities around them, and, you know, one thing after another, that might be a new cultures forming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you said, you know, one thing after the other, that just something as small as seeing where, you know, what a cucumber plant looks like is like, it's this huge ripple effect, and it's incredible to witness. So
yeah, thanks. Yeah, we have Jessie, do you agree? And you're equal safe, and please, yeah, feel free to tell us a bit more on that too. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think the thing that I see in these younger generations, and like especially in those even younger than me, that I really admire, is just like collective awareness. I think that the younger generations these days just have a better sense that collective actions have collective impacts, and that kind of just level of awareness that like those things happen is really great to see, because that's the kind of understanding you need to have in order to make systemic change. and transformational change, as we talked about here. So that's the perspective that I love to see in young people and all generations. But I think it's growing, and that encourages me.
Do you feel that collective awareness, it's something quite unique for this generation compared to the elders around you, the previous generation?
I'm sure like it's not like this is a brand new idea that just got invented this year, but I do think it is like growing in this generation. Like there's a greater sense of it, and people are becoming more and more aware that their actions have consequences and affect other people in really broad ways. And especially like given how much more globalized we are as a community than we were, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I think people are seeing like the impacts like, oh, if I leave my trash on the beach, it's going to be here for decades. And that ruins the experience, that ruins the ecology, and has so many wide-ranging impacts. So it's little things, and then also like on a social justice level, like the way that we treat other people, and the way that we treat the planet. So.
Yeah, thank you. We have Yi, would you like to follow up?
我也想说一些即兴的，就刚刚大家聊到的，让我想到的。首先一个是刚开始我接触生态文明的时候，那个时候的年轻人是90后，现在在这个工作里面，我们看到越来越多00后，甚至是04年出生的、06年出生的，加入到这个行列里面来，所以会发现这个年龄段上确实是不断的是向年轻人走，然后每5年如果是作为一个定义一代人的话，那又已经经过3、4代，然后这3、4代的社交媒体的使用的习惯又不一样，所以跟着年轻人一起玩是一个很重要的一个点。然后还有一个是在我们工作里面，我会非常努力的把年轻人更容易去突破一些已有的一些思维固化或者一些路径依赖，这个去作为或者想要去打破一些边界。那所以本来比如说像这个社会企业 social enterprise 这个概念，它是一个独立于公司和公益组织的一个概念，也是10几年前开始出现的。那这个到底怎么样在现代社会里面它是可行的或者不可行的？就这个在中国的话，年轻人一直是在做这方面探索。当然在欧美的话，社会企业的创业也有非常多的退了休的年龄的段，就不一样的一个年龄。对，然后还有比如说像我知道心灵跟我都在做跟乡村有关的，怎么样把乡村的这个生态保护、环境保护和本地的这个社区参与结合在一起，这个其实是一个非常难的问题。然后最近也在生物多样性这个国际的环境议题里面，出现了土著社区这样一个专门的一个板块，就比以往要更加的重要。所以像很多这样的非常难的有挑战性的问题，青年人是可以参与进去，也可以做一些改变。
Wow. Thank you. That unique perspectives and then also unique approach in attacking topics that are usually not been aware or not been addressed. Yes, and Yukyung, would you like to share? Yes.
네, 저는 일단은 청소년들이 왜 그런 독특한 관점을 가지고 있을까 하면은 기존의 사회나 질서나 관성에 대해서 조금은 아직 물들지 않아서 비교적 자유로운 사고를 할 수 있고 또 새로운 습관들과 관성들을 만들어 갈 수 있는 시기이기 때문에 그게 창의적이고 신선할 수 있다고 보는데 그거를 그러면 제대로 더 사회의 그런 수혜를 받으려면 어떻게 해야 하느냐 하면 저는 좀 정치적으로는 조금 더 청소년들의 정치적 의결권을 주는 것도 생각을 해야 한다라고 생각을 하고요. 청소년만의 운동으로서 미디어 소셜 네트워크도 있겠지만 그 결과물들을 홍보하고 같이 실천해 나갈 수 있도록 청소년들도 이제 세대 간의 토론의 장과 행동과 제도적 움직임을 좀 해나갈 윗세대의 파트너도 필요하다고 생각을 합니다. 예를 들어서 진짜 신선했던 거는 Do you know BTS? 그 BTS의 제이홉이 그 팬들이 K-pop 팬들이 이제 우리 앨범 사는 것 때문에 너무 자원을 많이 쓰니까 이거를 디지털로 바꾸자라고 해서 QR 카드로 만든 디지털 앨범으로 출시한 적이 있었어요. 근데 그런 식으로 신선한 어떤 재인식의 기회들이 청소년들에게 있기 때문에 그들을 조금 더 정치적으로 더 많이 생각할 수 있게 도와줄 수 있으면 좋겠다라는 생각을 합니다.
Yeah, I think I thought about the why youth might be uniquely interested in the environmental issues, because youth groups can bring such a unique and creative opinions because it is a time when they can thinking relatively free of the existing social order in creative ways. So in order to play the transformative role, it is good to give youth the right to vote politically. And it is also important to implement the approach in the media and social media as a youth movement. So it also can connect to the older generations so that they can join together to promote their movement. So I actually thinking about the example of the BTS. As you know, K-pop, one of the K-pop artists here. So J-Hope's fans actually made digital albums that are made by the QR code without any physical albums, so that they can protect their environmental issues and thinking about the ecological issues. So this kinds of one of the examples that we can show how the youth can give lots of creative ways to thinking about the environmental issues.
Yes. Well, we have, I think, in this respondings, we have covered quite some the questions that we were about to ask. Since we have around 10-11 minutes towards the end of this dialogue, I'd like to open the floor to the panelists, and please feel free to ask each other's questions, and then also with our audience I've seen a lot of heated discussions in our chat rooms, and any of the audience would like to ask questions to the panelists, and please go ahead as well. And I will also share some of the questions that we have yet to fully cover in the chat room as well. And so I'd like to give the full floor first to our audience, to our panelists, and feel free to ask each other's questions as well. And I think the conversations between the intergenerational conversations that we both raised, Jessie and Yukyung, that's the part I think that you both could have a dialogue with, and then also with the urban-rural connections. I think I had a lot to speak with even here or after the sessions. Yes, please feel free. And then also our elders here in the conversations, and please feel free to ask questions or respond to any of the question as well. Jay, oh yeah. Helen, we have a friends.
Hello?
Yes, it's Helen. Hello, hi.
Yeah, I'm the one who raised the question about the Japanese nuclear wastewater pouring the sea for maybe next month or the next 2 months, within just 2 months. Up till now, I don't see any really, let's say, good response or effective response to this issue from the, let's say, civilized society. There's just no response. No, I don't know what to say. But I think it's maybe that's the end for the, how to say, the political world to have anything to say or to do. And maybe that's the beginning of where our, let's say, the constructive power of nature could stand out and support with the situation. And I see the nuclear waste thing as a consequence after a natural disaster, which is made by, it was started by the earthquake. So maybe we can start from here. We can help the people that really suffered from this natural disaster. But it, on the other hand, it's a, let's say, man-made accident, because it's the human beings who made this nuclear power station. So maybe this is the time for us to really set up a, let's say, a status. For if we see things from the civilization level, then what is the civilization? Civilization is every people do a little and make the civilization, let's say, come into being. So we can start here. Let's do something a little and really set up the new civilization for the nature. Good, be good for the nature. And we can start the, let's say, to learn from the industrial civilization, which is to manage, which is to operate. Instead of corporations, we now, for this time, we start to operate to make profit for the nature. We will set up, let's say, a status, as a legal status for the nature. And from this point, we have our saying that we cannot, we human being or our nature cannot afford such kind of damage. It's killing our future. It's killing our only water body, the sea, the ocean.
Yes, thank you, Helen. Very much the important question.
Whatever it takes, we should not let it happen. So if we can set up let's say a status or legal personality for this, let's say, nature, then we can start our, how to say, natural,
like Xinlin did. Yes, like it's a legal rights for the rivers and mountains.
I think this is my idea. How could we start our civilization? And this is the critical point, I think, for the history, for the human being, for the planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That's a very important question that you raised. I just saw Jay raised his hand. Are you responding to the questions? Or you're raising a new one? Please go ahead.
I would like for Dylan. Dylan is a farmer, a farm manager, and she talked about her role as a student. But could you say a little bit about what it's like to be a farm manager and link your farm with suppliers from elsewhere? Tell just a little bit about your grocery store. I think it might interest people.
Absolutely. So Bell Urban Farm is a small urban farm, which is kind of a sort of a new concept. And I think is actually a really interesting opportunity for the youth as our opportunity for land access has decreased. Urban farming will probably see more of that in the future, especially youth who are interested in our food systems and how to grow their own food. But we are an example of a small urban farm. We are certified naturally grown, which is comparable to organic certification. We primarily grow flowers, and then our farm stand is filled with all Arkansas-made products or grown food. And so we could grow food here, but we choose to grow flowers because we have several other Arkansas growers that already kind of take advantage of the produce niches that we already have to supply our farm stands. So we grow flowers, and I manage the farm every day. And we also do workshops, which I think Dr. McDaniel mentioned in the chat. I have put on a few workshops, and I love that he mentioned that they are multi-generational. We have all sorts of people, all sorts of ages and demographics that show up in the community. And I think it's a great way for all of us, several generations, to spend time together, learn from each other. This farm, it connects people, it connects everyone across the state. And as soon as I started working here, I started recognizing people in the community. They were recognizing me, and it just feels good to have those connections. It's I've never had these kind of feelings before, so since working here, and it feels good, and it kind of takes that that daunting feeling, it eases it a bit, because you feel so supported, and I feel like I'm also supporting other people across the state. So what we do here is really interesting. It's really fulfilling. I think it's a really good example of a way that the youth can be a part of the food system without having to jump through hoops to get land access. But that's basically it. Let me know if anyone has any questions about it. Really passionate about what we do here. So
if I could jump in just quickly, I took a workshop from Dylan, and I know nothing about gardening or plants. I'm the most ignorant, but it was so interesting, and you knew so much, and it was about weeds. And there were children and adults and everybody in between, and it was so interesting. And it made me wish that there could be cross-cultural gardening workshops where gardeners in China and gardeners in Korea and gardeners in the US meet on Zoom and trade practices, show what they grow, tell about what their problems are, and learn from one another. East-West community gardening.
mm-hmm.
I think that goes under the radar of politics and does a lot of good, or can do a lot of good.
Absolutely. I love that. The idea of the cross-cultural collaboration in farming and food systems. And there's just so much to learn from each other. So, wow, that's an incredible thought. So.
You know what, because the climate is very different and the produce is very different, I always thought, what can be discussed and shared in this kind of cross-cultural gardening sessions? And until the other day, I was trying to dig a big a composting pot on the earth, and we're lacking of tools. And it reminds me of visiting US small farms. There's a lot of very smart, small tools, low tech and practical. And I think making those tools and making those designs even available to each other, I think that would be a great way to share as well. And then over here we have a lot of peppercorn, Sichuan pepper, and picking up Sichuan pepper it's a great chore. It's a lot of work. And if we could, open call, and whoever friends from other parts of the world could help design a tool to make this part easier, I think that would be also a wonderful thing to share as well. And we are almost running out of time, and we have 2 more questions. So let's quickly go to our Chinese friends. Gao Zhijian, are you there?
Yeah. 谢谢老师。然后hello everyone. I'm a graduate from Sichuan Agricultural University in Sichuan Province, China. I majored in food science, and I am now building a social enterprise in agriculture to Chinese farmers increase their income and promote environmental protection. It is my great honor to attend this conference and hear the experience shared by all the teachers. Also, my English is not that good. I still hope to have a simple communication with all teachers. But it's easier for me to keep using Chinese because foreign friends speak is too fast. So I pretend to use Chinese. 大家好，我是来自四川农业大学的一名毕业生。然后我的本科专业是果树学，然后这个就是比如说大家日常吃的所有的水果都是来自我们园艺的这个果树学的这种科技成果的产出。所以在我的本科这个阶段，所有导师去比如说四川省的阿坝州、甘孜州还有凉山州这3个州，我们去进行采样和技术下放的时候，我们会遇到很多的农民，他们在技术应用和技术接受度存在问题。包括我现在在做的这个项目本身是我们发现在田间授粉的环节就是存在一个特别令人很惋惜的事情，就是大家普遍采用激素的授粉或者是人工的点站授粉，不仅效率很低，而且我们认为这个是不环保的，因为使用激素授粉或者是农药的这种授粉一定是会对我们的农作物产生大量的伤害，包括土壤也产生伤害。所以我们认为其实自然的就是最好的，所以我们和动物科技学院就是这个动物科技专业的风学专业的一个教授杨明显教授，然后我们进行3年的合作，探索出了一条我们认为比较在中国的国内比较可行的一条道路，就是我们认为蜜蜂授粉是在中国的田间授粉是最合适的，而且关于这个环节。在美国的大部分的这个蜂农，他们的收入和蜜蜂的主要的职能，其实恰恰就是授粉，而不是像我们中国国内的这种，就是以这种产出蜂蜜、产蜜作为蜂农的主要收入，而且蜂农为了产蜜，他们本身要追花赶蜜，每天都要去追不同的花期，所以我们认为授粉才是一个。才是蜂农本身的这个职能，然后也是蜂农的一种对，所以我们认为可是其实对于美国来说，如果我们使用这个大面积的蜜蜂授粉的话，其实它是很可行的，因为美国是这种集约化的这种农业，所以在中国这种小农经济其实不是特别适合使用这种。我们之前开发了一种这个叫授粉订单，然后我们希望给田间采用这个集成式的解决方案，可是我们发现。散户实在太多了，可能大家1亩3分地实在是很多，所以我们认为可能美国的办法直接照搬到中国来是行不通的。那我们就想了一个中间的折中策略，就是我们可以先帮蜂农把这个蜂蜜卖起来，然后我们成立了自己的品牌，然后今年的7月份我们准备成立公司，包括刚刚有一位老师说这个关于社会企业的。
Oh, yes, please. You're about to raise your questions.
Oh, okay.
Is there a question that you'd like to discuss?
对，所以我想请问，就是各位老师是如何看待这个关于中国的这种蜜蜂授粉的这种道路？我们认为，我们是希望就是先通过开发这种中游和下游，我们先把这个蜂蜜的销量带起来，因为在中国还存在一个问题，就是中国的假蜂蜜很多。所以我们认为，为市场提供一个真正的纯天然的蜂蜜，然后同时去把蜂蜜这个市场的需求做大，反过来可以倒逼我们的上游去鼓励更多的新蜂农入场，而且同时我们可以给他们提供田间的这种果园、菜园这种地，让他们去采这种蜜。所以我们可以就是用一个正循环的这种模式，可以让他们就是促进这个田间的蜜蜂授粉。所以我很想听听各位老师的看法。然后我们也一直在探索这条道路，因为我毕业就是完全 all in 做这个事情，然后就是特别希望跟各位老师交流。
Are you using a Tianyuanfeng or Chinese indigenous bee breed, or the Italian, the large one? 小高，你们是用的田园蜂还是那个意大利蜂？大
我们用的其实是不同蜂种的配比，因为我们发现这个中华蜜蜂，然后雄蜂和意大利蜜蜂，它们各自有不同的优势。如果是关于单纯的授粉的话，我们发现雄蜂是最合适的。但是其实如果对于这种产蜜的综合产出来说，那可能这个其实中蜂不太适合产蜜，因为中蜂它吃掉的蜂蜜多。然后所以我们发现意大利蜂其实比较适合这种产蜜。那我们在中间有一个蜂群的配比，就是不同的这个蜂群，我们有一个组合这种。
It's okay, got it. Shall we wait for our translator to finish? Is our American friends, if you have got the idea, please let me know, and what you think of these. Have you heard of similar practice in your regions? It's kind of a social innovations and an innovative business model that to incorporate pollinators into this to encourage the number and diversity of pollinators. Have you seen something similar to this?
Yeah, we I think it's pretty common here in America to use the European honeybees to help pollinate the crop, so increase the crop yields, and then you also get the honey byproduct, which you can sell. And I think that's great, you know, ways for farmers to make more profits, more livable wages and everything. I know there are some ecological impacts of using, you know, non-native, introducing non-native species into your local ecology, which is something to think about, and how, you know, sustainable the transport is of those bees. And, you know, it's just kind of a cost benefit kind of analysis situation. But I could totally, you know, I totally see the benefit as far as money goes and crop yield. And it's a fairly common practice here, so.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone, we are approaching the end of our official time. Actually 10 minutes past the mark, but I very much like the conversation to continue, but just for the sake of timing, let's end this official bits for now, and then we can keep this room open for any friends who wants to have more conversation, if that's okay. And just at the end of our official bits, I very much like to thank all of you again, especially our panelists gathering here to share from your hearts, and our elders are presenting today to be around and to listen and to join these conversations, hold our hands, and also for our audience calling in, and also our audience at the live broadcast channels, and to know that your intention and attention both are with us on this very pressing and important topics, and also to know that cross-culturally we are together, that truly we are all the passengers on the spaceship Earth, and that to get to have that awareness and confirmation, that's a great assuring and hopeful note for us. And I'd like to now hand the stick back to Andrew to end our sessions, and we'll keep the room open afterwards. Andrew.
Well, thank you, Xinlin, and all of our panelists. That was wonderful. Actually, what I would say is a beginning to an ongoing conversation. And I say that for two reasons. One is because the work doesn't stop here, right? We've been talking about the need for transformation and all sorts of collaboration, including intergenerational collaboration. So this is only the beginning. But also, I say it because quite literally, this is just the first half of our session. What we're going to do now is I've got a wonderful musical presentation to share with you. And then we'll do a short break. and then we'll come back and we'll actually do small groups, breakout conversations, so that all of us in the audience can start diving in deeper and sharing our thoughts and feelings, and collaborating together in deeper discussion and conversation. So before we play this video, I'm like Dr. Dongwoo Lee to say a few words about our musical guest, and give us some context for what we're about to watch.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Schwartz. So I'm going to introduce Jeon Bum-sun and Yangban. Jeon Bum-sun and Yangban are a South Korean rock band formed in March 2014. And interestingly, Yangban refers to the ruling class of the Joseon dynasty. So he's doing the wordplay. So Jeon Bum-sun and Yangban are labeled as a Joseon rock, and present a very unique sound that combines traditional Korean music with the Western rock. In 2017, they won the award of the Best Rock Song at the Korean Popular Music Award. Combining their love of rock with their passion for Korean traditional music, Jeon Bum-sun and Yangban are a band that is making waves in the Korean rock music scene, presenting authentic hybrid music based on Korean tradition. Mr. Jeon Bum-sun, the band leader and the vocalist, studied history at Dartmouth University in United States and Oxford University in the United Kingdom. He is a highly anticipated artist in the Korean music scene, and he is an activist and the author of several books related to the ecological justice. Mr. Jeon is, I believe he's here with us. Mr. Jeon, if you're here with us, please raise your hand, show your face, and I'm going to bring you up. I cannot find him right now. Then maybe we can listen to the music first.
버린 재고 따지고 싸우던 우리 기가 막히고 맥이 풀리고 불이 꺾인 우리 북한산 설악산
mungkin saya budget yang itu.
All right. Yeah, I think that's awesome music. And I just put the lyrics on the chat box so you can check it out. Mr. John, are you here? Oh my, I think that's my bad.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome to be able to ask him a few questions about his music and talk with him. But if he's not here, that's okay. We can go ahead and transition to our break time, and then come back and let's say, or somebody's actually joining. That might be him. Did you see somebody just jump into the waiting room?
Yeah, it's very promising. Oh yeah. Hello, Mr. John.
Hello.
Good to have you. You are in the right timing, the exact timing.
Perfect.
So I just
sorry.
introduced you, and we just listened to your music, Pur. So everybody is happy for your music right now. So would you please say something about your music, and also how does it relate to the ecological civilization? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everyone hear me fine?
Yes. Yes.
1 second.
All right. Thank you for coming
everyone
in.
hear
I
me
know
fine?
you're very busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we hear you well.
So we're
Yes.
that's good. Oh.
So we can hear you. Oh, we're good. You can talk.
Okay. So we're called Yangbans, and Yangbans are, if for the people who don't know too much of Korean history, Yangbans are the scholar gentry class. They're the old Confucian aristocrats, if you will. And we didn't name it because we wanted to be an aristocratic class, but more because the Yangbans were known to enjoy 풍류, which is in English would be translated as wind and flow. Now, wind and flow is not just, it's often used as a word for music in Korea, but it's more than that. It's a philosophy and lifestyle that is very deeply rooted in Korea. It's a spiritual tradition. In a way, as the word sort of it implies, it's lifestyle to go with the flow of nature. And in Korea, people, including the Yangbans, always made and enjoyed music out in the open. Wind and flow, 풍류. I can't write the Chinese character right now, but it's literally wind and flow. And they would always enjoy the music out in nature in a way to harmonize with nature. And now the way we make music, Yangbans as a band, is quite, it's not exactly traditional Korean music, but we try to follow that spirit of wind and flow. How? Because when we make music, we always travel to somewhere beautiful. We used to, this particular album, Pul, that we dropped last month or this month, we made it in the southern tip of Korea in a place called Haenam. We also traveled to, for example, Joshua Tree last year in October. So we're going to be dropping our next EP, which is made in Joshua Tree, come this October. And I just came back from Thailand with the band too. So we wrote our first LP, like a full-length album material in Koh Samui. And wherever we go, we try to absorb the surroundings. We try to be one with the nature, and all we do is just jam for hours, just like improvising. And me being the vocal, I'm just pressing the record button and hear what everyone's doing and try to write words along with it. So it's very, like in the American sense, it's like very 60s, 70s psychedelic rock and roll kind of approach. But I try to bring these sort of Korean lens of wind and flow. And it's just the five of us. In the East, there are 5 elements, whereas in the West, there are 4 elements. So I like to consider all 5 members of Yangbans as each elements, like the fire, water, and everyone's sort of, supplementing each other and cycling the energy. So that's how we differentiate us from other bands.
That's really, really awesome. And I really love your music and also your the music video. I think you'll be very popular in China very soon. This is going to be seen by many people, and I think since we have the commonality in our culture, I think they will feel the same thing that you want to express. So thank you very much, Mr. Jun, for your time and participating here. And is there any comment? I do like to invite Jay. He is our music expert. Maybe he can make a comment on the music. Jay?
Well, I really love your music. I love the video, and it's really great for us to be able to meet you in this way. And I am intrigued with the idea that philosophy, spirituality, can be communicated through music, sometimes better than in other ways. And so I see you as conveying and communicating and inviting people into an attitude toward life, an approach to life that's healing and much needed. So keep it up, and thank you.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Mr. Jun. So we are going to share your homepage if that's allowed from you.
Oh, it's totally fine. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Actually, we already did. And also we are going to post your YouTube channel on the on our webpage as well, so that many people can come and listen to your music and express their feelings and comment for your music videos. And thank you very much, Mr. Jun. I think you are a singing philosopher. I hope to meet you soon in person. If you're coming to the California next time, please let me know. I'm going to treat you. All right?
I'll let you know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Andrew?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. This has been such a joy for our conference, in bringing philosophers and farmers and musicians and environmentalists and all these different types of people together, because I think that is what it's going to take to make the world a better place. So it's wonderful to have them. We're actually going to go to our break now. Let's do a 10-minute break. I'll put up a sign in the room, and then we'll come back and we'll deep dive into some small group discussions. So break time. Thanks, everybody.